All right, welcome to this lovely afternoon. I'm Anuradha Sant, your host for today. I welcome each and every one of you to this webinar, which is hosted by the Coaches for You community, which has been formed by volunteers of the ICF India coaches, which we are all a part of. This webinar presentation will last for 30 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. So coming back to the topic for today's webinar is Learned Optimism, Unleash Positive Thinking. And to take you through this is our experienced coach, Neha Jalan, who is based out of Mumbai. Neha is a psychologist and a leadership and life coach. Neha is also a keen marathoner, swimmer, and a die-hard foodie. She believes in living in the moment with a never say die attitude. Neha's natural ability to be empathetic, non-judgmental, and to be able to demonstrate unconditional positive regard for people makes her a masterful coach. Today, we all are quite curious to know about learned optimism. Optimism we've heard of, but can we learn it? Let's explore. So without further ado, I'd like to hand this over to Neha.
Thank you for your kind words, Anuradha. A warm welcome here. A lot of familiar faces. So hi all. In fact, a lot of international people have also logged in. Really a pleasure to see all of you. So I know you've put me into a spot. You've given me a 4 p.m. slot, which is just post lunch and pre-tea time. But I'm very positive. I'm going to keep all of you engaged and make it a meaningful discussion. So here we go. So guys, I'm just going to share the screen. Trust you guys are able to see it. All right. Ironically, the most negative word in 2020 is positive, thanks to the COVID times. And in today's webinar, we are going to talk about how to stay positive in such times. Unleash positive thinking, learned optimism. So of course, all of you must be thinking of this question. Why are we talking about learned optimism? What's in it for us? What are we here to discuss? I must share with you, last few weeks of lockdown, I've been talking to a whole lot of people. And intriguingly, their responses to this COVID situation has been very, very different. So on one hand, people have seen it as an opportunity. They have been very constructive and creative. They have connected back to their life purpose and have taken this time to connect with the closed and loved ones. And on the other hand, I've spoken to people who feel absolutely hopeless and helpless in this situation. They've been very agitated and they feel completely lack of control in this situation. The psychologist in me got the better of me and I started analyzing, given the same situation, why are the responses so different? On further analysis, I realized it is the level of optimism. I started doing a lot of research online and I stumbled upon this beautiful concept called learned optimism, which we are going to learn today. What it says, whether you're genetically predisposed to being positive or environmentally you're conditioned to be positive, in either cases, positive or not, optimism is something that can be learned. And here we go. So what is learned optimism? It is the ability to see the world from a positive point of view and challenge negative self-talk and replace pessimistic thoughts with more positive thoughts. This concept is given by Martin Seligman, who is the father of positive psychology. Positive psychology focuses on that field of human psychology which sees humans having tremendous potential. The first part of the definition, as you can see, focuses on optimism, which is the ability to see the world from the positive point of view. The second part talks about the learned bit, the challenging the negative self-talk, the replacing the pessimistic thoughts. And that is the part we are going to discuss today. Interestingly, he's also written this book called Learned Optimism, How to Change Your Mind in Your Life. And those with enhanced interest in this field may do so. So, why should you be optimistic? Of course, you can learn it, but why? So, after a lot of research, there were 3 reasons which kind of connected with me. The first one, optimists live longer. They actually can live up to 85 years of age. The average lifespan of an optimist is 11 to 15% higher than that of a pessimist. Optimists probably take better care of themselves. They eat well, sleep well, involved in some kind of fitness, and also they don't smoke. So of course there is merit in being an optimist. Optimists are also more successful. Whether they are entrepreneurs or professionals, they have the never say die attitude. Their ability to bounce back after they get knocked down is very, very good. Also, they seem to be more resilient than pessimists. And last but not the least, and to me, the most important one, optimists have better relationships. This is probably because their conflict resolution style is much better. And they also co-create and get very, very cooperative in solving issues with others. In romantic relationships, optimists tend to idealize their partners, just like the way I do in case my husband's logged in. Okay, moving on. Optimist vis-a-vis pessimist. So Anu, do you think there is merit in finding out today in today's webinar, how many optimists vis-a-vis pessimists do we have?
Sure, I'll just launch a brief poll and you could click on that and we can figure out at the end of it how many optimists or pessimists do we have on the call today. So here we go.
So where do we need to click? We just need to click as soon as it appears on the screen. Yeah.
Yes. Do you see it on the screen, everyone? Yeah, so just click. So I'll give it another 10 seconds, 10, 15 seconds. People are filling in. Okay, 70% have voted.
How do we know?
I'll publish the results as soon as everyone's finished.
I mean, how do we know which we are?
What you think you are. And then as we go through the session today, I think you'll be able to put a finger on that.
So it's about whether you believe you are an optimist or pessimist.
Okay, I'm giving it another 10 seconds and let's end the poll.
56, 57, yeah. So we have 10 more people to fill in case they are.
All right, I think it's good. Should we just go ahead and close the poll?
Yes, let's do that.
All right, so there we are. So we have a large 89% who say they're optimistic and only 13% pessimistic. So you have quite a tilted audience today.
Absolutely, and it's amazing. I mean, optimistically, I do have a job here because we do have 13% pessimists. So I'm feeling good about that 13 number.
Sure. All right.
All right. Okay. Okay, so optimist vis-a-vis pessimist. You know, traditionally we have seen optimists as people who think it's the glass half full, vis-a-vis the pessimists who think it's the glass half empty. So what is it about these optimists which make them different from the pessimists? Is it because of their positive affirmations? Is it about the positive imagery that they create? Or is there more to it? just put a cartoon on a lighter note. There's always a different way to look at the same situation. So, coming back to, Martin Seligman found out that there is one differentiating factor which sets an optimist from a pessimist is their explanatory style. What I mean by that is, I'll just take you to the next slide. The way we explain an adversity to ourselves is what differentiates us from an optimist vis-a-vis a pessimist. And I'm going to elaborate on that. So he made this beautiful 3P model, which we're going to discuss now. The first one is personal. During a negative event, pessimists tend to internalize, which means they tend to blame oneself heavily. They feel they caused it. Vis-a-vis, optimists tend to externalize it. They recognize factors beyond themselves. The second factor is permanent. A pessimist has a very stable view of the negative situation. He feels the negative experience will last forever. It'll always be there. Whereas an optimist thinks it's unstable. The negative experience will not last indefinitely. The third one, pervasive. The pessimist thinks it's global. The adversity pertains to wide aspects to his life, to everything around. Whereas for an optimist, it's specific. Adversity pertains to narrow aspects to one's life and not everything. So let me explain this with help of an example. And of course, the most topical and relevant one is the COVID times today. So how would a pessimist look at the COVID time? My bias about the Chinese led to this situation. Clearly, he's blaming oneself. And this is so ridiculous. Looks like this will go on forever. This is a very stable view about the situation. Everything in my life has come to a standstill. The everything states he or she's made a global view about the situation. Now let's look at how an optimist will look at the situation. The same situation, which is the COVID situation. He or she would think it is a worldwide pandemic. He would externalize it. He would say it's a situation that we are dealing in hand. This too shall pass. 2 of my projects have been derailed. So vis-a-vis a pessimist who would think everything in his life is gone for a toss, an optimist could actually get very specific and say 2 of my projects have been derailed. So according to me, this is one of the most important slides of today's presentation to understand the basic difference in the way, the mindset, or the way one explains an adversity, which sets apart an optimist from a pessimist. I'll just let the screen be on for 5 seconds for people to just read and internalize what's been shared.
In case any one of you have any questions, any comments, please go ahead and write them in the chat box, and we will definitely convey them to Neha so that she could answer them or give you further insights.
So till now we've discussed A, optimism can be learned. B, there are differences between optimist and pessimist. And 3, that the explanatory style is the main cause of the differences. Now what? Now I'm going to be sharing with you 2 tools to deal with situations in which you don't feel so positive, and which are tools which you can take home with you and try it out. The first tool is the ABCDE model, again created by Martin Seligman. It's as simple as it sounds, ABCDE. A stands for adversity. B, so adversity of course would mean any negative situation. B stands for belief about the negative situation, or your own personal belief about the situation. C would stem from the consequence of that belief. D, which is the most important step, is the disputation of the belief. Of course, I'm going to explain all of it with an example. And E is the energization that takes place after the disputation. So let's take an example. Let's say one of my deal falls through, a deal I've really been working hard at, and last minute it gets called off. So that is an adverse situation for me. It's not something I really expected or I really wanted. What would be my typical beliefs around the situation? I'm terrible in deal making. I will never be able to be productive. Life has been so unfair. So this could be, my typical beliefs about this deal falling through. What would be the consequences? Feeling of helplessness, irritability, frustration, and most importantly, inaction. So when I start believing in all of these, it just makes me feel terrible about the situation, and moreover, I don't do anything about it. So till ABC is something I think we all do in life. A negative situation happens. We have some belief about the situation, which leads to certain consequences, either emotionally or in terms of behavior. Disputation is the new step that I'm introducing from Martin's model with all of you today. Disputation means you start challenging your beliefs. You start disputing them. In this case, what would I ask myself? Am I personalizing it? And if you guys have been paying attention, in the first point, I am terrible in deal making. I am personalizing it. Permanent. Are you making the negative situation permanent? Yes, I am. I'm saying I'll never be able to be productive. Am I making it pervasive? Pervasive means I'm going to spread it to all aspects of my life. Life has been so unfair. So I'm making it absolutely pervasive. Do I have evidence that I'm terrible in deal making? I may think through and think, oh my God, last year I just did 2 great deals. So the fourth question that you can ask yourself is, what is the evidence that you have? Alternative. Is there an alternate way of thinking about the situation? Yes, of course there is. Maybe the deal was not meant to be. Or maybe the client was in a bad mood and it didn't go through. Or maybe there could have been more research done to back up the advantages of the proposal. And last but not the least, is it useful? Your beliefs, are they really useful to you? Are they making you productive? Or actually, are they derailing you from your own progress? So once I dispute the beliefs, what happens? There's a change in feelings and mood. I'm already feeling lighter about it. There's a change in behavior. Yes, I am going to make it happen for myself. I am a deal maker. This one. And yes, there is a change in energy. So this is the energization that happens. The minute you challenge or dispute your beliefs, which are not serving you, there's a certain kind of energy that you draw from your new beliefs. So now, given this ABCD model, I want to see what you guys can take back from this. I want all of you to type on the chat box, or it could be in a piece of paper in front of you. What is that one belief that you hold about a negative situation which is not serving you? Any one belief that you feel can be challenged, can be disputed. So just take a couple of minutes, think of that, and you can put it in the chat box for everybody else also to see. So we'll all learn from each other.
In the meantime, Neha, there are a couple of comments. You want me to pick them up now?
Yeah, so Anu, I'll just take a look and see which ones, I'll just take a look. Requesting more people to reflect and challenge, think of a belief they like to challenge. Any belief in a situation which has not been positive. So I'm just going to read out a few of them. And yeah, Anu, I see there are questions. I'm going to probably take them at the end of the session to keep the flow on. Yeah,
Sure.
I'm loving the flow right now. So it's beautiful. People have put their beliefs. Why me always? So there's this word always that has come in, which is making it permanent. And the word I, which is making it personal. Some people have talked about fairness. People have talked about others, how others perceive them. And they have made probably some assumptions there about how others think them. Then there are comments like, I really can't do this. This is so hard. So very interesting kind of comments coming in. So what I will request you all, you can probably take a screenshot of this, or I can connect offline. Try this model. So here you've written your beliefs. Work on the D bit after the webinar, the disputation. How will you challenge your beliefs? And then just draw onto the energy that you get after challenging them. And I'll be happy to hear your experience. So with this energization, it links back to being positive. This energy brings us back to be centered, to not indulge into negativity and feel good about the situation. Moving on to the second tool. Tool 2 is called the Thinking Circles. It's by Stephen Covey. Many people must have read his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's from there, in case people want to read more about it. And this is, again, a very interesting tool, and it's very visual in nature, so I really enjoy doing it. In fact, I do it with my 11-year-old son. So the first circle is the circle of concern. So the circle of concern comprises anything that concerns you at the present moment. So, I'm going to kind of depict it with an example. In the current moment, my circle of concern comprises, the Indian economy, it does concern me currently. The COVID vaccine, when is it going to be out, completely concerns me, because the lockdown just seems to be going on for a little longer than I had thought. My fitness level, as Anu said, I love running. So I'm trying to keep up to my fitness level being home, but it's not been easy. So that kind of concerns me. And lastly, my son's screen time. I hope he's not listening in, because he's going to get very upset with me. But nonetheless, that is the other area of concern in the present time to me. So with this circle of concern, we move on to the other circle. This is called the circle of control. So the circle of concern, as I said, speaks about all the things that concern you presently. And the circle of control talks about what is that you can directly control. So from all these four things, I think one thing that I can directly control is my fitness level. I can definitely, and which I have done already, download some fitness apps. I can probably, use the building parking space if they allow and do some walks, and then so on and so forth. It is something I can directly control. The next circle is the circle of influence. The circle of influence is interesting because you don't control it. However, you can influence it. And when I say influence, you can talk to somebody, have a discussion with somebody, get into problem solving and influence it. So one of my things from the circle of concern has moved into the circle of control. The other thing that can move into the circle of influence is my son's screen time. I was sad to know that I can't control it, but yeah, I realized I could influence it. And when I say influence, I could talk to him about it. I could replace screen with more interesting things for him. So this is how these three circles work. They are very, very easy to implement, and they are very visual in nature. So again, and it's a very simple tool as well. So with that, in the current moment, I want you guys to again reflect, again take a minute or two, and think about one thing that you would like to move from your circle of control to your circle of concern. Any one thing in the present time. And you can start typing in the chat box so that we all can learn from each other. Yeah, so there's a question. I am requesting you guys to put one thing which is concerning you, which is in your circle of concern, to move to your circle of control. So anything that is concerning you, to what degree can you move it to something that you can control? Yes, Tamanna, it's concern to control. Arian, beautiful. I can't control his attitude, but I can control my response to him. Beautifully put. Weight loss. Sangeeta, amazing. Using time effectively. Beena, very nice. My diet and disciplined way of living.
So there's health by a lot of people. Sujata Singhal.
Yeah.
There is Anal who said that. There's Prathamesh who said that. Prachi also says health. Sejal says acceptance.
Wow. That's beautiful. Sejal.
Sachin says sleep. Srinivas says finances. John mentions start writing my own blogs.
Nice. Love the mindfulness from Paresh.
Amit says ability to learn new things.
All right.
Beena says use time more effectively.
Zaki says ability to deliver everyone's expectation. Rashmi talks about planning her work and household chores. Lovely, guys. So what this thinking circles does, it just asks you one question. Where are you spending your time? And as you keep doing it with practice, you'll realize that your circle of control has increased. So your focus gets driven into the things you can control rather than things that you are concerned about. And even in a simple situation like a relationship with somebody, the things that could concern you would be his or her attitude, But what you can actually control is your attitude towards that person. So minute the focus from the external becomes focus of things that you can control, you feel, as I said, a lot relaxed and yeah, more optimistic about it. So they're connecting it back to optimism as you keep increasing your circle of control. And especially in the COVID times, it'll really be useful again for you guys to do this with yourself and your family members and see how to increase your circle of control. And as they rightly say, give me coffee to change things I can, and wine to accept those I cannot. And maybe we need a lot more wine right now. All right. So, we're coming to the end of the session. So I've been happy to share 2 tools with you done by 2 great psychologists and researchers. And in the end, I just want to add a piece to what I'm doing to stay positive in such times. And as I'm talking about what I'm doing to stay positive, I'll also request all of you to think of one of the many things that you are doing to stay positive in the COVID times and put it on chat again to share with us. Just one thing of the many things that you're doing to stay positive. Okay, so for me, I start my day with meditation. So even if it's 5 minutes, I try and I just start the day with meditation. So what it does, it makes me calmer. It brings in a stillness in me, and I just feel that sense of emptiness to take the day in beautifully. So just love starting my day with meditation. Structured day. So I'm a highly structured and organized person. And of course, when the COVID time just started, everything seemed very chaotic. There was no start and end time to, work and home were overlapping, and, just felt it was getting too chaotic. So I started my old practice of making my days very structured. So I have a clean, well-planned calendar for the entire week. That's what I do in the beginning of the week. And every morning after my meditation, of course, I just look at my calendar and just feel a lot in control of the day. So having a structured day does help me. Dress as one would at work. So this is really hilarious because every day, Monday to Friday, I actually get ready as I'm going to work. And my son looks at me and like, we are in a lockdown period. What are you dressing up for? But I don't know, it has a psychological impact on me. I just feel so good to dress up like I would go to work, and it just makes me more productive, I feel. Working in collaboration, that's my typical style of working, and it continues thanks to the Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts. So working in collaboration is something which is still happening, and I love it. Space to family members. And of course, in a city like Bombay, the physical space is very limited. But the need for personal space is a lot. And it has especially increased when the physical space between us has reduced. So what we try and do, amongst us, 3 of us, my husband, my son, and me, we try and give a lot of personal space to each other. So we try and meet only during meals. And then, of course, evenings we spend together. So it's like just having that mind space to do what you need to do for the day. Fitness. Of course, I would love my fitness levels to be more than they are currently, but then there are beautiful apps. I'm personally using the Cult Fit app. They have beautiful workouts, many of them, like they have the dance fitness, they have yoga, Tabata, and again, beautiful and many workouts. So, you guys can try out. And yeah, end of the day, I try to listen to something uplifting. So it could be something on abundance. It could be something on mindfulness. Just helps me feel good before ending my day. And last but not the least, and the most critical one, acceptance of emotions. I do have bad days, bad moods. I'm sure my family will vouch for that. And I do feel once in a while very helpless. I do feel, when will this all get over? And even when optimism is not working for me, acceptance does. So it starts with an awareness of the feeling that I have. So I'm able to label my emotion. For example, I'm feeling very annoyed at this point in time, or I'm feeling a little depressed right now. So I do create awareness within myself to get in touch with my feelings. I call it aloud, either to myself or to a friend. I call a friend, or family members are there. And then after creating that awareness, I start accepting it. So there is no denial at any point, or there is no band-aiding the emotion. Slowly from awareness, I move into acceptance, and that's how I'm dealing with my own emotions at this point in time. So just sharing with all of you. So that's all from me. Let's look into some of the. Anu, you just want to read out what people have said. How do they? One thing that they are doing to stay positive.
So I think a lot of meditation. So there's Pamposh, there's Alexander who says meditation. There's Pradeep also who said meditation and supporting others, meditation and yoga. So that's a theme which is coming across. Reading self-help books, yoga and meditation, following a routine, being a sounding board for people who need to be heard with the current anxiety world over, tackling home tasks that have been procrastinating for the last few years. And I'm prioritizing getting exercise using, online classes. You have said, so Srinivas says, slowing down and listening to one's own self. I guess we've all got a moment of pause for all of us. So I think utilize that to the best. During these times, especially thank God every morning that my loved ones are alive and well, makes me feel internally happy. Exercising thanks to the fitness apps and spending maximum time with family. I love this prayer, God give me the strength to change the things I can, and acceptance of things which I cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Excellent.
Yeah, the wisdom being the most important part. Yeah.
Correct. So feeling grateful, also feel grateful every day for having domestic help so that I'm not bogged down. Okay, so you are the lucky one, Prachi.
I think she's Calcutta based. Yeah.
Correct. So we are all slogging it out here.
Bombay has a lot of part-timers, so hence I think they're suffering a little more. Yeah.
So fitness, watch series, interviews, again, source of knowledge. So I guess quite a few there. So as we're drawing to a close, feel free to write in your questions. I'll also pick up a couple of them that were mentioned earlier. Also, as we're bringing to a close, we just have a few more minutes. I'd like to very happily tell every one of you that our website, which is the coachesforyou.in website, which is up and running. And now from now on, you could register for all our future webinars and events on the website itself. I'll put the link of the website on the chat box. Our next webinar is on 28th of April at 4 p.m. and the topic is resilience and you. So we'd be happy if you could go to our website and register for those as well. Apart from the webinars that we are running, we also have exciting material on the website, which is articles and blogs. And you can also register for a coaching session with one of our very experienced coaches and also be a volunteer coach in case you are one. And there are a lot more offerings which are coming your way. So stay tuned and do log into our website. I'm just going to put it in the chat box as I speak.
So thank you everybody for being there. My number and email is there. Happy to try out these tools with you offline. And of course, there has been little time to take questions up. So happy if you guys have tried something, you'd like to share it with me or you have questions, happy to take them. And also the LinkedIn barcode is there on the screen. So you can probably just get access to my LinkedIn. So it'll be great to connect with all of you on LinkedIn. So thank you. And
so we just have a couple of minutes left. So if you want to take a question, and I think I found this was interesting. This is from John.
Yes.
He did mention that I think the ABCD model is also a great coaching model for beliefs. And he had another comment, which I'm trying to go
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, and there are a lot of coaches on this
Yeah.
call. So yeah, please use it with your coaches and do share how it goes. Yeah.
So he had talked about, yeah, what would the shadow side of optimistic look like? Maybe an optimistic, but what would be the shadow side look like?
Can he unmute himself? I'll love to understand
Okay.
what he means by the shadow side.
So John, would you like to unmute yourself and explain your question a little better?
Yes. So, if you think about optimism and pessimism, and if people are overly optimistic, is there something that happens that in their optimism they might fail to take into account? And that's what I meant by the shadow side.
John, that's John, right?
Yes.
John, thanks for bringing it up. So there is something called optimism bias, and it very much exists when you become too optimistic and you get into denial. So yes, there is a shadow side, and too much optimism and not having the ability to see things. Sometimes, if they're occurring in a certain pattern, does lead to a bias and may not be a great thing. And so happy you brought it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you can check out more in it. It's called optimism bias.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any more?
All
Anu?
right, with that, we're
Yeah.
done. We're at there is one more comment. Vicky mentioned that I think one of your models is not derived from Dr. Albert Ellis's REBT, which is Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy.
Yeah, there is an REBT model as well. Yeah, that's
so
right.
One of the two models that you shared, are they anyway connected to this one?
One of them is connected. Yeah, the ABCD model. That's right. Yeah, it is connected to that.
All right. So being conscious of time, I'd like to thank you, Neha. Thanks so much. I think it was a very interesting and engaging session. And I'm sure people have taken away, nuggets of information for themselves. I'd like to thank the audience. I think you've been very engaging and very, very, cooperative. So I really like to thank each one of every one of you and look forward to having you over to attend many of our other webinars that we are curating and bringing for you. So with that, thank you all.
No, I will watching the poll.
Sorry,
Feedback,
one more thing.
feedback.
Sorry. In my zeal to thank all of you, I'm just going to quickly launch the feedback poll, which will take you only 5 seconds to fill. So if you could kindly do the needful, because that will be really, really helpful for us to get your input. So it's up there. So kindly take the next 5 or 10 seconds to fill up the poll. And thank you so much, Rajesh, to mentioning that. Yes, please fill this up. It will be really, really helpful for us going forward. As you're doing that, if I could take the liberty of asking you all if there are any specific topics that you would like to hear from us. If there are somebody of you who you would like to give us some, suggestions, please write it in the chat box. That will be very, very helpful as well.
Yes, Anita, you have a question.
Hi, hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, Anita.
I wanted to ask was this, about being optimistic. Sometimes we're optimistic for a lot of things and we keep on thinking positive, but after all the trial and effort, it doesn't go the way you thought it would be. So I think then you're more disheartened because you've been optimistic all the time. So don't you think it's better just to take each day and just give it and just leave it in this optimistic and pessimistic thing? Because when you're too optimistic, it makes you more upset when it doesn't go the way you thought it should go.
Mm-hmm. It's it's a beautiful question, Anita. So what we are saying, this is your default mode of operation. Some people are wired to think and look at situations optimistically, and some of us are wired to look at it pessimistically. And this wiring determines the outcome of the situation. Of course, there are situations, no matter how optimistic one is, may not work out, and I acknowledge you for that. That's true. But this is about your basic framework about thinking of situations. So that is what the model is about. Yes.
Okay.
And of course, there are exceptions. There are times, despite optimism, things just don't work out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. It was really nice.
Most welcome.
You're welcome. So Neha, a very quick parting question.
Yes.
I know we are, above our time, but so Srinivas mentioned that I have encountered that even though we are optimistic most of the times, due to the people around and their pessimism, we tend to be bogged down and turn negative.
Srinivasan, if I may say, use your circle of concern, influence, and control. In what you're saying, see where you can use influence. Are you able to influence them into your positivity? Is your positivity higher than the negativity that they are experiencing? And of course, there's a circle of control where you can manage your emotions better despite facing with situations which are not so positive. So probably post this webinar, you can sit with the 3 circles and see which are the aspects which are concerning you, which can influence you, and which you can control. And again, happy to get in touch with you later and see what comes up for you.
All right. So we're again. So thank you so much again, Neha. Thanks everyone. With this, we close our session today.
Yeah, and Anu, thank you for being a great host.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, really had fun.
Totally my pleasure.
Yeah,
and we look forward to seeing you again, all the audience back on the webinar for 28th of April, 4 p.m. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah. Bye-bye.